Hey there, it's Rennie. I'm getting ready to sew a baby blanket, so I thought I'd do a sew with me video. Now, I already went onto Google and I typed in baby blanket sizing chart. So this is definitely a good source if you don't know which size baby blanket you want to do. And I'm going to do the 30 by 35 inch one, which is a good size for a stroller. So I went ahead and cut my Minky fabric already. And you want to make sure to cut extra for your seam allowance. I'm going to sew the blanket with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So now that I have my fabric cut, I'm ready to pin it. So let me just bring the camera over so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I already went ahead and put right sides together. And then I like to start by pinning the edges first. And since Minky is very slippery, I like to use a lot of pins. So I'll just go ahead and pin the other edge. Now this is definitely nice when you have a large desk to work with. Mine's not very wide, but I'm just going to make do here. And then I'll go ahead and pin the middle. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and do 2 rows of pins, just filling in where there isn't a pin. I'm going to do that around the whole blanket. I just finished pinning the blanket together, so I wanted to show you that I did 2 rows of pins and an extra one at the corner. I feel like when you're sewing with Minky fabric, you can never have enough pins because it's so slippery. So hopefully this baby isn't going anywhere. So I'm over at my sewing machine. I have my stitch length set to 3 and I have my walking foot installed. And if you've never sewn Minky with a walking foot, I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. I didn't know what I was missing out on until I went and bought one for my machine. And I also heard that you're not supposed to backstitch with a walking foot, but I do all the time. So I'm just gonna do that in today's video. Okay, and I'm also sewing with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm just going to sew around the whole entire blanket, leaving about a 3 inch gap so I could turn my blanket right side out. I just finished sewing, so I left a hole here. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove all my pins. I like to keep the second row in while I'm sewing. Now before I turn this right side out, I'm going to go ahead and clip the 4 corners. So when I clip it, I like to just round it some, like that. Let's do that to the other 3. So once you clip the corners, you can go ahead and turn it right side out. Just like to tug on these threads a little bit to make sure it's secure before I reach my hand in here. Just gonna clip off the excess threads. Okay. So I'll just turn the whole thing right side out. There we go. Now I'm just going to push on each of the corners. So you could use a tool or your finger. It seems to work fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and lay this flat and pin my opening shut. And then I'm going to top stitch around the whole blanket. So I'm just going to secure this hole shut with 2 pins. Okay, get one out. There we go. Okay, now I'll go back over to the sewing machine. So I'm just going to move my needle over some to the right and go ahead and top stitch. Alright, then all that's left is to trim off the excess threads here, and then your blanket is finished.